Tote here. I want to show you my homemade bow press. But before I get started, I want to give a shout out to some people. First of all, the guys over at NorCal Kayak Anglers, ncka.org. Thanks for getting me involved in archery. I've had a blast with it. And the guys at Archery Talk, archerytalk.com, thank you so much for answering my questions over the years. Without you guys, none of this would have been possible. So anyway, the bow press, I'm not going to show you how to make it. I'm just going to show you how to avoid a lot of mistakes that I made during the process of making it. Hopefully it'll save you some time and some money and a lot of headache. All right. First of all, the bow press is square tubing, 16 gauge. I got 2-inch, 1 3/4, and 1.5 inch tubing. The fingers tubing here is 2-inch on 1 3/4 inch stubs. 1 3/4 inch legs, 2-inch brackets. The bow press will, with these, loosen these, pops right off, folds flat, easy to store. I used a trailer jack, ordered it online, like 20 bucks, 21 bucks. Cut that up, took the insides of it out, used that. I've got 15 inches of travel, and because I've got a drop pin, I've got another 15 inches. I can extend this out on 1.5 inch increments. The most important thing about this, the press part actually is pretty easy. If you have any welding skills at all, which I don't, my welding got a lot better after the fact, it'll go fast. The hardest part are the fingers. If you have access to a CNC machine, you know somebody that has it, maybe a programmable plasma cutter, have them do it. Okay, it's going to save you a ton of time, ton of frustration, and a ton of money. Okay, First of all, you can search the internet all over for fingers, get what's going to work for you. The first set I made were there's a guy on YouTube, he showed a way to make fingers, and it was fine, where you take a piece of square metal, just a piece of stock metal, you cut it, you bend it, you cut it, you bend it, you cut it, you bend it, cut it, bend it, and then you weld. Then you do the same thing and the same thing until you get the configuration you want. It went pretty good. It took me all day. The problem I had, though, is that my cuts aren't perfectly straight. I'm not really that accurate. It's just an angle grinder by hand. So the fingers didn't come out perfectly straight, so it was a lot of grinding and sanding and filing to get everything to line up nice and kind of straight. When I went ahead and put it together, I got a set of plans from the internet for 5/16 inch right here. Big mistake. Go big or go home. I put these on. And when I started to press my bow, you could see things were starting to flex a little bit. It was sketchy, scared the crap out of me. All right. Another big mistake I made, if you're going to do the fingers, make a template using like Luan or a piece of plywood. Make a plywood template first, okay? And then take a cam or whatever you're going to use, especially the hybrid cam. Make sure your fingers are long enough. First set of fingers I made were not. All right. These were the first set, and I used them on this press, and yeah, they look kind of cool, and everything was great. But what happened was, when I pressed my bow, you got the cam sitting in here, and it sits down a little bit low. When I went to turn, I didn't have enough clearance, so pretty much useless. I was not happy. All right, and these are the ones that I made with the cut weld. Drilled a hole, tapped one side. You have one side free and another side threaded. You just tap it, so you can get one side to travel to accommodate a bunch of different bows. I did that with this, but I went ahead and went with 1/2 inch on this. And again, a lot of drilling, a lot of making sure everything's lined up just right, because like I said, this is all no plasma cutter, no CNC machine. These are all just done by hand. I'm going to take this off real quick. And what I did was, maybe save you some time, you can see that this side here will travel. Turn this and it travels. Wider, more narrow. At first I went ahead and just drilled this, tapped it out, but there was a lot of wobble when I went to use it. So I went ahead and just welded a nut on here. It gives you a little more stability. Travels nice, not a problem. Little micro adjusters right here. When you have your bow So when you have your bow pressed, you can take this, turn them a little bit to kind of get see if you're, want to lean the cam one way or another by moving the limbs. That way it'll tell you which way to twist a yoke, whatever you want to do. It just kind of helps you out in that fact. If you're doing this, another thing I did here real quick, this little adjuster here, I like having these to slide on and off. Makes it easier to travel with. Just lock these on. They're not going anywhere. When you're doing this, try to do it by yourself. Don't have any distractions. Have a good plan. I didn't. I winged it. Like I said, the first set I made sucked. Didn't work out at all. So I went back to the drawing board. And these, instead of doing the cut weld, I just got one piece of stock. I think it was 1.5 inch stock. Drew my plans out, and I just basically took my angle grinder, made a bunch of cuts, a bunch of relief cuts, cut those out, and then just started grinding. One second. When you start to do these, don't do them individually. Line them all up and do them all at the same time. Kind of get the same shape on every one. That way you'll know that you don't have one that's way over here and one that's way over here. They'll pretty much line up when you get done with it. So that's what that worked. The reason I have these little knobs on here, these little ends, you won't see these on any other fingers because that's less cutting and grinding I had to do. Screw it, leave them on. A couple of other things. These knobs right here, this whole thing will lift off. These can fold down. I can pack it a lot easier. At first I went with the through pins like this. Big mistake. They wobbled all over. This thing, it's just a little bit, just a finger tighten, and it's nice and solid, not going to go anywhere. These, my legs, long on one end, short on the other. I always clamp this end down to my table, just because this does get a little heavy going this way when you got your bow and this thing's fully extended. So keep this down. It's not going anywhere. I pressed my Motive 6 completely relaxed to where I removed the lens cam 4 or 5 times trying to get the shims just right. This thing made a world of difference. Made it super easy, really easy to tie in the peep, tie in the D-loop, get everything lined up just right. The bow press is great. A couple of other features I did on the 1 3/4 inch. It's not a perfect fit. Okay, it doesn't all just fit nice and snug. There's a little bit of slop in there. So on this guy, on the back side, I just welded a washer, filed it down to pick up the slop on the back, and then on this side, I've got a thumb screw just like this, right back here, with a welded nut and a hole, and I just kind of tighten that thumb screw a little bit to give me a little bit of pressure on there. So I've got the washer picking up the slack here, this guy picking up the slack on this side, so it slides nice and easy. I like that a lot. It makes a really big difference. All right, when I said earlier, have a plan, don't have any distractions. I didn't have a plan. I had a lot of distractions. Up late at night, trying to get this thing done, tired. Making the fingers, again, it's the hardest part. And obviously the first one you saw, I screwed up big time. Making these, I still screwed up, all right? The first set actually came out great. Had everything nice and welded. Did the top and the plate here before I welded it onto this part. I suggest you do that. If you want to do it this way, do that first. Do the sides and the plate. Get that all lined up. Get the fingers on there, and then go ahead and tack it on or weld it on, however you want it. Like I said, first one went great. And on these, where the thread is here, the bolt goes, it's not perfectly in the middle. All right. This side is a little bit shorter than this side. So when I welded it, it was high side down. So I went ahead, got the second one, it's getting tired, I got everything lined up, got it all clamped, tacked it in, looked good, welded it all together, went to put the fingers on, didn't line up. Why not? Because when I did it, I did high side up instead of high side down. Didn't work, and yeah, I was ticked. Not happy. Still have some metal left, so I went ahead and cut it up, polished it up, got all the, all the rust, whatever's on there, got it all cleaned up, welded it again, made sure, hey, high side down this time, made sure, no doubt. Get it all done, I go to put my fingers on it. Really? Holes in the back, not in the front. Yeah, not happy again. Okay, tired, not thinking, trying to hurry up. Had just enough metal to get one more set done. Really, you know, I know the measure twice, cut once. I did it. I still screwed up. I must have measured this like at least a dozen times. Made sure everything was fine before I tacked it. Once I tacked it, I made sure everything was fine. Do that too. Tack it first, make sure it works, then weld it up. All right? It's going to save you a big headache. Another big headache, make sure you have the right tools. If you haven't welded in a while, which I hadn't, watch some videos on YouTube. Kind of refamiliarize yourself with how to weld. Again, I didn't, and I struggled the first time around. I made some big mistakes. Like I said, much better the second time around. One big mistake I made is that I have a self-darkening welding helmet, which is great. All right, hadn't used it in a while. Got new batteries. It just crapped out. It just didn't work anymore. All right, but I'm figuring, you know what? I've got backup goggles. I'll just use those. And these are my backup goggles. And you know what? Yeah, they work great. You put them on, you can't see a damn thing. You can't see anything. So I got a tripod with a spotlight. I have the spotlight right here, and you can kind of see. Then you weld. All day, I spent literally all day making these fingers the first time around. Fingers that didn't work. Remember? All day making those. Well, by the end of the day, I come into the house. I'm like, God, I feel like I'm sunburned. Can you get burned from welding? Well, yeah, you can. Didn't know it. Looked it up on the internet. Yeah, I got fried. 2 days later, I looked like a lizard. I was peeling and everything. My head, my face. My mistake. Fortunately, the next morning, I had an email from Harbor Freight. They had a self-darkening welding helmet on sale. Booked down there. Got that. Got the welding cap. Got a welding jacket. Welding blanket. I'm set. And I'm really set for welding. Another thing that I did was, because my welds didn't look that good, I got good penetration, but they were kind of sloppy. To make up for that, JB weld. Once everything's, you know, cooled, dried, file it down. Not file it, but you know, well, file it down a little bit, buff it out, get some JB weld, and smooth it over there. It'll make your welds, it'll make everything look good and clean, not really bad. So if you suck at welding, it's a good way to kind of cover up your mistakes, as long as the weld holds. Don't just do a weld where it's just going to be on the surface. Make sure you get good penetration, because there's a lot of pressure on these things, a lot. Okay. As far as the padding on the fingers, the first one I did, I dipped. Don't really like that. So what I decided to do on these is I just got some rubber hose. This reinforced rubber hose. You just kind of cut it in half. You put it up here, see where the bend is, you bend it, and then you cut it a little bit each way, and then you stick it, sorry, we go this closer. Stick it on and just wrap electrical tape around it. You know, if it gets scuffed, you peel it off, you put it back on. Like I said, I pressed my bow 4 or 5 times, not a problem at all. Didn't hurt the bow. There's actually, because there's a little bit of cushion here, it kind of snugs things up just a little bit better, so that bow's not going to slip up and down. When you are welding, and I've ordered some, these are 1 3/4 inch end caps. You can't really find them anywhere. I had to order them on the internet. They're coming, so that'll look nice and clean. But when you are welding the stubs on, you want to make sure that these are perfectly level with each other. You don't want one up here and one down here when you go to press your bow. Okay, these have to be perfectly level. And again, another screw up I made. If I put this before you, and do it before you put your the bottom brackets on. So you lay this flat with all 3 things inside. You lay it flat. You snug these up, and then you tack them, and then weld them on. That way, the bottom of this and the bottom of these, it's all even. It's all even, okay? So what I did, I'm like, all right, bottom even, bottom even. So I did this one, I pulled this out, laid it all flat, tacked it up, and I thought, wait a minute. Again, late at night, after work, tired. There's a bit of a reduction here, so if I have this perfectly flat, it's actually going to be higher than this one. So I screwed up. So I cut it off, flipped it, put it all back together with these 3 inside of each other, and then put this on the table, so there's a much bigger gap when it's dropped down than having this just on the bottom. And then to pick up that gap, I just put another piece of metal, slid it on the inside here, probably goes in this deep, welded it all on the bottom. So now this and this are on the exact same plane, so when I press the bow, it's perfectly even, not cattywampus either way like that. Another thing, when drilling the holes for the extension arm, if you decide to go that route, one second, it's hotter than heck out here. That's better. When drilling the holes for your drop pin, if you decide to go that route, make sure that when you drill this portion, don't just draw a line and start drilling holes. I have these every 1.5 inches, but make sure when you do this, you drill through the hole that's on the the traveling arm every time. All right. So when you have it lined up, you drill your first hole, you go in 1.5 inches. You drill your second hole, 1.5 inches. Third hole, 1.5 inches. Through this guy every time. That way you'll know every single hole is going to line up perfectly with your drop pin, and it won't be off just a little bit, making it really difficult to get that in. Okay, that's pretty huge. If you have the extendable arm, it's going to help you guys out a lot with less cranking to press your bow. So you can just move move the travel arm out a little bit, depending on how much you're going to press your bow. Then do the extension arm, put the drop pin in, and then just crank your bow. Okay, done. Relaxed, and boom. It's that simple. A project well worth the time, well worth the investment. Great thing to have if you want to be able to work on your bow by yourself. Got tired of going down to the archery shop every time. Hey, can you move my peep up a 1/4 of an inch? It makes it a lot easier. Again, enjoy doing the project. I learned a ton, and I hope what I learned of my mistakes helps you guys out if you decide to do your own. Tote out. Have a great day.